What happens when a flight attendant slaps the wrong man on a packed plane while the cameras are rolling? You ever had one of those days where everything feels like it's going to be simple, smooth? That was today for Jordan Whitaker. The guy wasn't looking for attention, even though attention usually found him. When your father's name is plastered across Fortune magazine covers, it comes with the territory. But Jordan wasn't the flashy type. No designer suit today, just a charcoal hoodie, black joggers, clean sneakers, headphones hanging around his neck, a leather backpack slung over one shoulder. The Delta Gate at Dallas/Fort Worth International Airport was busy, but first class had its own lane. Jordan breezed through security like everyone else, carrying that calm, easygoing vibe he was known for. He had a 5-hour flight to Los Angeles ahead and a meeting tomorrow that could change his company's future. That's all he was thinking about. Not the stares, not the whispers from people who recognized him, just his own lane. Boarding started early for first class, and Jordan stepped up when his group was called. A flight attendant at the door, Claire Benson, mid-40s, perfectly pressed uniform that controlled Smile Airlines, seemed to train into people, gave him a quick look up and down. "Welcome aboard, sir," she said, voice polite but clipped. "Thanks," Jordan replied with an easy smile. He moved inside, scanning for his seat. 2A, window seat, plenty of space for him to relax. But before sitting down, he noticed the overhead bin was crammed full. No space for his backpack. Jordan turned back toward Claire, who was greeting other passengers now. "Excuse me," he said lightly, motioning toward the overhead. "Looks like it's full. Could you—" Claire didn't even glance at the bin. "You can check it at the gate." Jordan blinked. "It's just my backpack. I've flown first class plenty. Usually they help find a spot, right?" His voice wasn't sharp, more curious than anything. Claire's smile tightened. "Sir, you can check it at the gate, or you can keep holding it. Those are the options." Something about her tone made a couple of nearby passengers glance up. Jordan felt it too, that edge in her voice that wasn't there for the guy who boarded before him, the guy she helped stow a roller bag without hesitation. Jordan chuckled softly, trying to keep it light. "Look, I'm not trying to be a problem. Just wondering if there's any space further up." Claire's eyes flicked past him like she didn't hear a thing. She greeted the next passenger with a warmer tone than before. Jordan exhaled slowly. "All right, no big deal." He tucked the backpack under his seat, even though he knew it would eat into his legroom. Then he sat down, stared out the window, and told himself to let it go. But something about the exchange, it didn't sit right. Still, he popped his headphones on and tried to zone out. He didn't know yet that this small moment, this little friction, was just the spark before everything blew up at 30,000 feet. But trouble has a way of finding you when you least expect it. And for Jordan, it was already boarding the plane. The plane filled quickly. Passengers shuffled down the aisle, clicking seatbelts, settling in for what should have been a smooth ride. Jordan stayed quiet, scrolling through his phone, letting the soft beat in his headphones calm him down. But something about Claire's tone still echoed in his mind. He told himself, don't make it a big deal, not worth it. Except, as people kept boarding, he noticed something. That couple across the aisle? Claire personally found space for their bag, smiling, even cracking a joke. A few rows back, another passenger got the same treatment. But when her eyes landed on him, nothing. Jordan pulled his headphones down around his neck. He wasn't angry, not yet, just puzzled. He pressed the call button above his seat. Claire appeared moments later, her hands clasped neatly in front of her. "Yes, sir?" The way she said sir made it feel like anything but respectful. "Look," Jordan started calmly, "I just wanted to ask, why couldn't my bag go in an overhead? You're finding space for everyone else." Her smile was tight, professional. "Sir, we're doing our best to accommodate passengers. There's no need to compare." Jordan tilted his head slightly. "Compare? I'm just asking a simple question." Claire's voice stayed low, but there was steel underneath. "Sir, if you're unhappy with your experience, you're welcome to speak with customer service once we land." Jordan stared at her, really stared now. "Once we land? The flight hasn't even taken off yet." His tone was calm, but something in it made her posture stiffen. Passengers nearby started picking up the tension. A man in 3C shifted uncomfortably, pretending to read his magazine. The woman next to Jordan suddenly found the window very interesting. Jordan kept his voice even. I paid for first class like everyone else here. I'm just asking for the same courtesy you've shown them." He motioned toward the couple across the aisle. Claire's eyes flicked over, then back to him, sharp now. "Sir, you need to lower your tone." Jordan blinked, stunned. "Lower my tone? I haven't raised my voice. I'm asking you to remain respectful." Jordan leaned back slowly, hands raised. "I've been nothing but respectful." She didn't like that answer. He could see it in her jaw tightening, her lips pressing together before she spoke again. "Sir, I won't repeat myself." At that moment, Jordan realized something. This wasn't about overhead space anymore. This was personal. And the way her voice cut through the air, passengers heard it too. Whispers started. A man 2 rows up glanced back, then quickly looked forward again. Jordan exhaled through his nose, gripping the armrest. He hated attention, hated scenes like this. All he wanted was a quiet flight. But it was clear. Claire wasn't letting this go. She stood there another second, staring him down, before stepping away. Jordan tried to calm his thoughts, but he could feel eyes on him. People wondering, what did he do? And deep down, Jordan felt something he didn't want to admit. This was only the beginning. But sometimes, the beginning is just the fuse. And the explosion? That's coming next. The seatbelt sign dinged on. The doors closed. Everyone was ready for takeoff. Or at least, that's what they thought. Jordan stared out the window, watching ground crew wave their orange sticks. He told himself, just let it go. Don't give her the satisfaction. But that voice inside, the one that hated being treated like he didn't belong, it wasn't quiet anymore. He pulled his headphones off completely and flagged down another attendant, a younger guy with short brown hair and an easy smile. "Hey man," Jordan said politely. "Any chance you could help me with some water? Haven't had anything since I got here." "Sure thing," the guy replied, cheerful. He disappeared into the galley, but before he could return, Claire reappeared, striding down the aisle like she owned the plane. "What's the problem now?" she asked, voice firm, cutting through the low chatter. Jordan looked up, confused. "Problem? I just asked for water." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "If you need something, you ask me, not my staff." Jordan blinked, incredulous. "Your staff? He's a flight attendant, too. He was right there." I asked politely. Claire leaned down, her voice dropping low, but not low enough to hide from the people in 2B and 3A. "Sir, this is your second time challenging me. I won't allow disrespect on my flight." Jordan laughed once, bitter and quiet. "Disrespect? You really think asking for water is disrespect?" "I think you're being difficult for no reason." "Difficult?" Jordan's tone sharpened now. "I asked for a spot for my bag. You refused. Now I ask for water, and that's a problem too?" Her eyes flashed. "If you don't like the service, you're welcome to book a different airline next time." The younger attendant returned then, holding a bottle of water, frozen in place when he saw Claire standing there like a storm about to hit. Jordan reached out, took the bottle slowly, eyes still locked on her. "Thanks, man." Claire straightened, her voice louder now so more passengers could hear. "Sir, this behavior will not be tolerated." Jordan set the water down on his tray, calm, deliberate. "You keep saying that, but all I've done is ask for basic things that everyone else gets without an issue." The cabin felt tense, thick, like everyone was holding their breath. A woman in 1C glanced back, her eyebrows raised in quiet shock. A man 2 rows behind whispered to his wife, "What's going on?" Jordan could feel the weight of their stares now. It wasn't just a conversation anymore. It was a spectacle. And Claire? She seemed to like having an audience. She crossed her arms. "Last warning, sir. If you can't follow instructions and respect this crew, you'll be removed from this flight." Jordan's jaw tightened. "Follow instructions? You mean follow you? Because that's what this is really about, isn't it?" Her eyes narrowed. For a second, neither of them spoke. Just tension filling the space like static. Then she said it, slow, sharp. "Watch your tone." Jordan leaned back, shaking his head, a dry laugh slipping out. He wasn't laughing because it was funny. He was laughing because this was insane, and everyone could feel it. The energy in that cabin was a live wire. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed too loud. They were waiting for something to snap. But when something finally did, No one on that flight would ever forget it. Engines roared softly as the plane began to inch away from the gate. The cabin lights dimmed slightly for takeoff. Everything looked normal on the outside. But in row 2, the air was heavy, charged, like a storm sitting on the wing. Jordan sat still, staring straight ahead. His heart was pounding, not because he was scared, but because this was absurd. He could feel eyes burning into his back, the silent judgment of strangers who didn't know the whole story. Claire walked past slowly, checking seatbelts, her heels clicking against the aisle floor like little gunshots. When she reached his row, she stopped. "Sir," she said, her voice smooth but sharp, "last time I'm asking, are we going to have a problem?" Jordan didn't even look at her at first. He took a breath, then turned his head calmly. "No problem here. You sure you don't have one?" Her eyebrows shot up. That was it. That was the moment. You could almost hear the thread snap. Before anyone could blink, Claire's hand came up, fast, no hesitation, and smack. The sound cracked through the cabin like someone had dropped a book on the floor. Every head jerked around. Gasps filled the air. One woman actually dropped her phone. A man in the third row muttered, "No way," under his breath. Jordan froze. He didn't even move his hand to his face. He just sat there, blinking, trying to process what had just happened. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. The sting spread across his cheek, hot and humiliating. He could feel the burn, but that wasn't what hurt the most. It was the disbelief. The fact that it happened at all. Passengers were whispering now, frantic murmurs breaking the silence like shards of glass. Did she just... Oh my God! She hit him! Someone in the back was already fumbling with their phone, recording. Jordan turned his head slowly, eyes locking on Claire. His voice was calm, too calm. "You just put your hands on me." Her chest was heaving slightly, but her face stayed stone cold. "You disrespected this crew, and I..." Jordan cut her off, his voice rising just enough for everyone to hear. "You hit me, on a plane, in front of all these people." Claire's lips parted, but nothing came out. The reality of what she'd done was sinking in now, not just for her, but for everyone watching. Then, like a gunshot, the captain's voice burst through the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We've been instructed to hold position on the tarmac. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened." The plane slowed, then stopped completely. No takeoff, no liftoff. Just silence, heavy and thick, hanging over first class like a storm cloud. Jordan sat back slowly, staring at the seat in front of him. His cheek burned, but his mind burned hotter. Cameras were out now, little red recording lights glowing like tiny judgmental eyes. And deep down, every passenger felt it. This wasn't just a flight delay. Something serious was about to happen. But the real shock? It was still coming. And this time, the whole country would hear about it. The engines hummed lower as the plane rolled to a stop. Outside, the runway stretched endless under the Texas sun, but inside, first class was a pressure cooker. Nobody spoke for a long moment. Then whispers started, small at first, spreading like wildfire. Phones came out, screens glowing as passengers hit record, angling their cameras just enough to catch Claire, Jordan, and every second of tension, simmering in the air. Jordan sat motionless. His right cheek still burned, but his eyes, cold, focused. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. He didn't give her what she probably wanted, a reason to throw him off that plane. Instead, he reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and held it steady in his hand. Claire noticed. Her chest rose and fell like she'd just sprinted a mile, but her voice stayed clipped, trying to cling to control. "Sir, I need you to turn that phone off immediately." Jordan didn't even blink. "You assaulted me." His voice was steady, but it carried. Passengers in row 4 looked at each other like they couldn't believe this was happening. "You laid your hands on me, and now you want me to stop recording?" "I'm telling you to follow airline policy." "And I'm telling you," Jordan shot back, his voice calm but sharp enough to cut glass, "that policy doesn't allow you to hit passengers." Gasps rippled across the cabin. Someone behind Jordan muttered, "He's right." Another voice chimed in quietly. "I saw everything." Claire's face flushed pink under her makeup. Her jaw was tight, her hand gripping the edge of a seat so hard her knuckles turned white. Then, the intercom crackled again. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain. For security reasons, this aircraft will remain stationary until further notice. Please stay seated. Law enforcement is en route. That last part hit like a thunderclap. Law enforcement. Coming here. Phones tilted up immediately, passengers capturing every word, every second. People knew this wasn't just a delay. This was a story, a viral one. Jordan sat back, almost too calm now. He sipped his water slowly, eyes still on Claire like he was studying her. The younger flight attendant lingered near the galley, looking pale and anxious, like he wanted to say something but didn't dare. Whispers grew louder. Did he hit her? No, she slapped him. I saw it with my own eyes. Someone in the back said, she's done, she just ruined her career. Claire stood stiff as a statue, eyes darting toward the cockpit, like she was waiting for someone to back her up. But no one did. The other attendants kept their distance. The passengers kept filming. And Jordan? He didn't raise his voice once. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The plane felt hotter now, though the air vents were still blowing cold. Every sound, the click of a seatbelt, the crinkle of a snack wrapper, felt too loud. People weren't just watching anymore, they were choosing sides. A man in first class leaned toward Jordan, voice low but firm. If you need me to back you up, I will. That was wrong, man. Jordan gave him a nod, nothing more. He didn't need words right now. His silence was louder than anything he could say. Finally, through the small oval window, flashing lights appeared, blue and red, cutting across the bright tarmac. Gasps filled the air again. Phones zoomed in. Claire straightened her blazer, tried to smooth her hair, but her hands were trembling. She could feel it now, the weight of every eye, every camera, every second of bad judgment replaying in real time. But when those officers stepped on that plane, they weren't just coming for answers. They were about to find out who Jordan really was. The cabin door cracked open with a heavy metallic click. Then came the sound, boots stepping onto the jet bridge, firm, deliberate. Conversations died instantly. Every passenger straightened up like they'd been caught doing something wrong. 2 officers appeared in the doorway, both in dark navy uniforms, badges gleaming under the fluorescent lights. One of them, a tall Latino man with calm eyes and a trimmed mustache, spoke first. Afternoon, folks. I'm Officer Ramirez with Airport Security. I need everyone to stay seated while we address the situation. The second officer, a black woman in her mid-30s, with her hair pulled back in a neat bun, scanned the room like she could read every secret. Phones down, please. This is an active investigation. Nobody put their phones down. Some lowered them slightly, but the little red lights still glowed. Claire stepped forward quickly, her voice eager, almost desperate. Officers, thank you for coming. We have a passenger causing a disturbance. Jordan cut in, calm as ever. That's one way to put it. Another way, she hit me. Gasps fluttered through the cabin again like startled birds. The officers glanced at each other, then back at Claire. Ramirez's voice stayed level. Ma'am, is that true? Claire's throat bobbed. He was being aggressive, disrespectful. I acted to protect the crew. Jordan laughed once under his breath. Protect the crew? From me asking for water? He turned his head toward the aisle, speaking louder now. Anybody here see me threaten her? Anybody? Voices erupted almost instantly. I saw the whole thing. She hit him out of nowhere. He didn't do anything wrong. A woman in row 3 held up her phone. It's on video. That was it. Ramirez's jaw tightened slightly. He turned back to Claire. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step aside. Her face flushed crimson. You're not listening. The female officer cut her off, voice firm. Now. Claire hesitated for half a second, then moved stiffly toward the galley. Her hands were trembling so badly she had to grip the edge of the wall to steady herself. Ramirez crouched slightly so he was at Jordan's eye level. His voice softened. Sir, are you hurt? Jordan shook his head slowly. Physically? No. But what she did, that's not something you just brush off. Ramirez nodded. Understood. We're going to take statements from everyone. This flight isn't leaving until we get this sorted. Jordan leaned back, exhaling for what felt like the first time in an hour. Passengers were still whispering, still recording. He knew this wasn't over, not by a long shot. The female officer returned from the galley, her expression unreadable. She leaned toward Ramirez and murmured something that made his eyebrows lift slightly. Then he looked at Jordan. Mr. Whitaker, Ramirez said, his tone shifting, more respectful now. Is there a private number we can reach for your legal team? That made the whole cabin go silent. Claire froze mid-step, turning back slowly, her face draining of color. Legal team? Someone whispered from the back. Jordan's eyes locked on her as he answered, his voice calm and even. Yeah, I can give you my lawyer's direct line, or... He paused just long enough for the weight of the moment to sink in. My father's office. Claire blinked. Your father? Jordan leaned forward slightly, his gaze never leaving hers. Richard Whitaker, CEO of Whitaker Global Holdings. The name hit like a punch to the gut. A man in 3C actually muttered, "No way," under his breath. Claire's lips parted like she was trying to speak, but no sound came out. The female officer straightened. We're moving this to a private area. Sir, you'll come with us. Ma'am. She looked square at Claire. You too. The aisle felt like a walk of shame as Claire followed the officers, her head bowed slightly, whispers chasing her every step. But Jordan? He stood tall, calm, silent, and every camera in that cabin caught it. What happened next would make headlines, and Claire had no idea just how much her life was about to change. They walked him off the plane first, not in handcuffs, not like a suspect, more like someone important being escorted through chaos. Cameras flashed as soon as Jordan stepped onto the jet bridge, passengers leaning into the aisle, filming, whispering his name now that they knew who he was. Claire followed behind, head down, face pale. The once confident flight attendant looked smaller now, like the weight of what she'd done was pressing on her shoulders. Every click of a passenger's phone camera was another nail in her professional coffin. Inside the terminal, they split them into separate rooms. Officers collected statements. Witnesses lined up to talk. Videos were handed over without hesitation, some passengers even offering to email copies, excited to be part of something big. Jordan sat quietly at a table, scrolling through his phone, messages flooding in. He knew the headlines were already out there. Flight attendant slaps passenger on first-class flight. By the time they added his name, it would explode. Officer Ramirez returned after an hour, calm as ever. Mr. Whitaker, he said, thank you for your patience. We've reviewed enough to know this wasn't your fault. Jordan nodded. I figured. People had their cameras out before I could even react. Ramirez offered a sympathetic look. Do you want to press charges? Jordan hesitated. The room was quiet enough to hear the ticking of a wall clock. Then he said, not yet. I want to talk to her first. Ramirez raised an eyebrow but nodded. We can arrange that. Minutes later, they brought Claire in. She wasn't the same woman who boarded that plane all smiles and control. Her blazer was wrinkled now, her eyes red like she'd been crying. She didn't sit down at first, just stood there gripping the back of a chair. Jordan studied her. No anger in his eyes now, just something colder. Disappointment. Finally, she spoke, her voice shaky. I don't know what to say. Start with why, Jordan said quietly. Why did you think it was okay to treat me like that? Her throat tightened. She swallowed hard. I misread the situation. I thought you were trying to challenge me. Jordan let out a slow breath, shaking his head slightly. Challenge you? For asking for water? For wanting the same service everyone else got? Tears welled in her eyes now. I was wrong. I know that. I shouldn't have. I lost my temper. There's no excuse. Jordan's voice stayed calm, even. You didn't just lose your temper, Claire. You put your hands on me, on a plane, in front of witnesses. That's not just a bad day. That's a choice. She dropped her gaze to the floor, her hands trembling against the chair. I've been doing this job for 20 years, and I just threw it all away. Jordan leaned forward slightly, his voice softer now but still firm. No, you didn't just throw away a job. You almost destroyed someone's peace, their dignity, because you assumed the worst about them without even listening. Her eyes brimmed with regret. I'm sorry, she whispered. Jordan stared at her for a long moment. Then he stood up slowly. You don't owe me an apology, Claire. You owe yourself one. And maybe everyone else you've treated like they didn't belong. He didn't say another word after that. He didn't have to. He walked out of that room, calm, head high, his phone already buzzing with calls from lawyers, PR teams, and news outlets. By the next morning, the story was everywhere. Headlines, hashtags, videos with millions of views, people arguing online about privilege, respect, and what happens when judgment takes over common sense. Claire? She lost her job. Airline issued a public statement. The internet dragged her name through every comment section for weeks, but the biggest punishment wasn't from strangers. It was the mirror she had to face every day after. And Jordan? He never posted a word about it, never gave an interview. He didn't need to. The lesson spoke louder than any tweet. Respect isn't about uniforms or titles. It's about treating people right before you know who they are. What would you have done if this happened in front of you? Would you have spoken up? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more real stories that make you think.